Welcome to Izayaa's kitchen. It's been a while since I've made a video. Life gets in the way. It's very hectic. I'm raising a toddler, work. So finally today I had all the ingredients to this particular dish that I want to make today, and I was like, hey, let me just record a video. And thank you so much for those of you that have kept in contact with me either through email or Twitter or other forms of social media. And so basically today what I want to make obviously would be the vegan version of Pastelón de Plátano Maduro. And what that basically is, it's really a Caribbean shepherd's pie. It's really what it is, right? In the north, in North America, where you usually, right, a shepherd's pie is usually with potatoes, meat, right? Usually beef goes in it. Obviously, right, people have different variations of it. In the Caribbean, we make a lot of pastelón de berenjena, that's eggplant, pastelón de yuca, that's cassava or cassave. Pastelón de Plátano Maduro is the one that I'll be making, which is this. It's sweet plantain, and it's literally like the sweet version of a green plantain, right? And there's different variations, and it has to look like this. Make sure that when you're going to make a pastelón, it has the blackened marks along with, you can still see some of that yellow parts in it, right? And so, this is a very festive dish. So you usually see it during this time of year, which is for the people that celebrate. I do not Christmas season, and but when you think about Christmas, for those that do not celebrate for whatever reasons, there is a moment in December, right? And that's called the winter solstice, when the sun comes to a near halt. And really what that means is, to a lot of ancient cultures, that was very significant, right? Because the sun provides us with energy, and the sun, when contrasted with the earth, there's a relationship there, right? Obviously. And the sun is that yang energy, because it's in constant processing carbon into hydrogen, right? Is this reality that is manifesting to provide energy to what? To our plants, to our living systems. And what you see here on earth, right, is kind of like that yin manifestation. And so the winter solstice is an extremely important period, and that is the deeper understanding that I seek to pass on to my children, not necessarily the European oppressed version that we are getting, which is Christmas, right? There is still things that you can extract for Christmas, but things like using the evergreen tree. That tree is sacred. It never dies. It lives on forever. So imagine you cutting a tree that is extremely sacred to many native cultures. Yeah, one moment, Mama. My daughter seeks attention. So imagine a tree that is extremely sacred, and you're cutting it. And not only that, you're putting it inside your house, but the tree's already dead, right? So you're kind of having a tree carcass in your house. And, then you're putting these lights on it. I love lights. Children love lights. I'm not against lights, right? I think that's beautiful. And I think there's moments where you can definitely, color your house and make it very festive. But the fact that we are celebrating through this sacred tree is a problem. And we're celebrating, it's kind of like we're using the earth symbology to celebrate the fact that the sun is in reflection, is standing still, right? And so I seek to format this in a different way, where we think about, in a lot of ancient cultures, right, they use the winter solstice as a time of reflection, as a time of meditation, as a time of renewal, really, right? Whereas then you see that again happening in the spring, where usually you had the big harvests happening, and then you have a celebration of the crops being finally fulfilled and grow. The winter solstice, right, for those cultures where you have winter, in the tropics is a bit different. I'm pretty sure that the native cultures there, though, still showed some definitely reverence to the sun in that respect. And again, a lot of people, for 5% ideology, a lot of people might be like, they were worshiping the sun. We must learn to really to really see through the cracks of history and see, were they really worshiping the sun, or were they using the sun and what the sun was doing as a way to reflect on themselves and as a way to bring it back to their own self-development? I'm pretty sure that eventually it became a bit mysterious, right, where the sun becomes an actual god. But I just want to leave it at that because, you know, there's so many different ideas. I welcome everyone's idea for discussion. You know, I'm just throwing out a whole bunch of thoughts on what I have. And of course, I have so many other thoughts that I just, you know, it's too much to share in one video. But for the winter solstice, I want to just work on this delicious recipe. The first thing I'm going to do is I have some water already boiling here, and I'm going to cut the sweet plantain. First I'm going to cut the ends, right? Then I'm just going to draw a line. They're very easy to cut because they're so sweet, and so they're just very manageable. So I'm just cutting through it like this and putting this to the side, and I'm going to cut it into thirds. Okay, and then I'm going to cut it in half like this, and I'm going to drop them in the water, in the boiling water. And I'm going to let them boil for about 10 to 15 minutes. I'm going to repeat the same process with the two other ones. This is a very small pastelón that I'm making today, so it doesn't require that many sweet plantains. I'm going to use a very small bowl, so it's not going to, or a baking pan as some people call it, right? And a lot of people, well, some people, right, there's different variations to every recipe, and there are some people that leave the skins on. Today, I am taking them off because it's much faster for the actual vianda or root vegetable to cook. Actually, this might be considered a fruit, right? I said root vegetable, but it's actually, it grows on top of a tree and the seeds are in the middle. So plátano is actually a fruit, really, if we want to go by the categories. But it's usually clumped into the viandas section or the root vegetable section. So I got these going, right? Now, as these plantains are going, I'm gonna start to work on the meat. Now, for the vegan version, what I will be using is this tempeh, right? I'm gonna be using tempeh, and I cooked today some chickpeas. These are organic chickpeas that I bought dried, and I boiled them for about 30 to 45 minutes. And so these two main sources of vegan protein is what I'm gonna be using to cook the meat. And I'm gonna treat this as if it was carne molida, which is shredded beef, or I forget the English term, but it's really it was carne molida, but I think it's like shredded beef. Anyways, I'm gonna crumble this. When the word comes to me, I'll say it. I'm gonna crumble the tempeh into small pieces, right? And I could leave, it's okay if I leave like big chunks, it doesn't matter, because it's gonna break down further when I put it into the cast iron skillet to get a bit brown. So I've crumbled these up, and I'm gonna bring them here. Before I do that, I turned on the cast iron, the oven, the stove to medium heat, and I'm gonna take 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. I liked unrefined coconut oil. I'm gonna actually use 3 to 4 tablespoons because it's a big skillet. And I'm just gonna go like this so that it can go around. And then what I'll do is I am going to place the tempeh in the oil. In a bit, you should start listening to a sizzling motion. And I'm just going to move it around and continue to cut down the tempeh further. So now the tempeh has started to sizzle, which is a sign that the pan is actually much hotter. What I'm gonna do next is, again, I'm treating this like it's carne molida, like I'm cooking it. And the carne molida is what you find in patelitos, in other pastelones, and other Caribbean dishes. I am using celery roots. So I am placing celery. Celery and carrots are very popular in Caribbean cuisine. They add a lot of texture and they add a lot of flavor. So I'm gonna add this in here. And if you notice, the tempeh has kind of started to brown up. Next, I am going to add some carrots. The carrots add a bit of sweetness to the overall dish and also overall flavor. I am also going to now add chickpeas. And I'm using like just a regular spoon. So 8 to 10 spoonfuls, I think. I'm just eyeballing it. I really just eyeball everything. I actually think this is pretty good. I'm going to close the chicken and cook with the ones I have now. Next up, I'm going to add red onions. I'm adding red onions. And I'm adding the green Italian pepper. And I'm adding... Yes, green. I'm adding green and orange red pepper. Actually, orange pepper, not red pepper. And I'm just gonna bring that in there. Now I got my pilón here where I mashed up some garlic. I'll be adding in the garlic. Those are about 4 ears of garlic. And I am adding some soy sauce. I use, even though I don't like to support Whole Foods, but it's the cheapest, so I use either soshu or tamari. There's a slight difference in one. Tamari has less sodium. Really. I'm gonna add some lime juice to this as well. And again, I'm gonna move this all up, move this around, make sure all the ingredients are mixing. Up next is something that Caribbeans cannot live without, our Mediterranean legacy. Our Moorish influence here are olives. And I like to add a generous amount along with some of the juice. It's going to add great flavor when combined with another Caribbean product, which is tomato paste. I love using tomato paste. I don't like tomato sauce as much unless the recipe truly demands that you use tomato sauce. But here I have the paste. I let it cook in the center first. Right? I'm letting it cook in the center first, and then I start to bring in the ingredients so they could become infused with the paste. If you notice, I used about 2 tablespoons. I might have to use more, right? So that the meal can get that nice reddish flavor. Okay, so I'm doing the same process again, just letting it cook, just letting it absorb all that wonderful stuff. And after I thoroughly have mixed in, so you have to do this for a bit. See, that's the thing about the tomato paste, right? So now, after I've mixed the tomato paste in well, it's just to end the way I'm making the carne molida. I'm gonna just sprinkle in some garlic powder. I'm also going to sprinkle in oregano. You find oregano in most. I'm gonna use a bit of cumin, just a tiny bit. And I'm gonna use just a tiny also bit of black pepper, okay? And I'm gonna mix it in. Usually I like to use turmeric as well, but I didn't have any readily available, and so I had to omit that from the recipe, but that's okay. All right, and there it goes. I'm gonna turn off the fire, and the meat has been completed. So the meat is complete, but we're gonna garnish it with some recao. Recao is really cilantro, and the type I'm using today, there's two types of cilantro, the flowery kinds and then the long flat kinds. I'm using the flat kind of cilantro, okay? You can use either one. This was the one that was in the supermarket, and I was like, I got that one. It has a stronger flavor too if you've worked with both of them and you're familiar with the different types of recao. But that's that. Now that's been garnished, and that's gonna seep into the meat. Now what I have here are my boiled sweet plantain, and I'm just mashing them. I added some butter in here, and I'm gonna mash them like if they were potatoes. As a final step, what I like to do is use a fork and just tap it, right? I've already tapped it, and kind of just go like this to make sure that everything has been really mashed really well. And here I have our meat, right, made out of tempeh and chickpeas. And what I do is, this is our pan where we're going to cook it in the oven. We're gonna finish it off in the oven, and I'm gonna use half of the mashed sweet plantains to make our first layer. So I'm just gonna basically scoop it over and make one layer, and this is gonna be the base to our pastelón. Okay, and I'm just gonna continue. Make sure that it's evenly, try your best. And oh, one thing that I did not mention, I've already coated this baking pan with butter, and I use the Earth Balance butter. It's right here, okay? Sometimes I get it soy free, sometimes I don't get it soy free, because I'm not anti-soy, at least whole soy. Exactly, Oogie. All right, so there's our first layer. I'm just gonna put a little bit more. Yes. All right. Yes, very hot. And now I am going to incorporate the meat. And this could be a very generous amount of the meat. The meat is usually the biggest portion of the pastelón, where you usually see like the big chunks of meat in the middle. So I'm just scooping this. If there's leftover, make sure you save it for tomorrow, the next day, right? Where you can use it in other dishes that you like to cook. And again, I'm gonna spread this out evenly. Right? And just for you people that are soy, that are allergic to soy, because I know there's people out there that are allergic to soy, one thing that you can do is, instead of using tempeh or any other soy products, you can use jackfruit. I haven't personally dealt with jackfruit, or you can make this strictly a bean dish, where you just use chickpeas with some other kind of bean or other kind of legume. Or if you're not gluten intolerant, you can use seitan. Or you can try any of those soy meats that are in the market. I'm not even sure if they're soy meats, or they're usually like crumbles of different things. But yeah, just for my soy people that cannot ingest soy or are allergic to soy, under the video I'll put other suggestions for those who but I know jackfruit is really popular nowadays. So there's our top layer, you guys. I am going to drizzle this with coconut oil, and then I am going to put it in the oven. Put it in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes to cook and finish off. And when it gets light, nice and brown, that's when you know it's ready. So now I've had the pastelón in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I do not know the Celsius counterpart to that, but I'm pretty sure you guys can figure it out. So I'm going to take this out here. And you got to be obviously very careful. If you notice, it's nice and browned at the top here. Okay, and then the coconut oil continues to coat it with the fat. All right, so I'm going to place it here. We're going to let it cool off. And as it's cooling off, I'm going to serve this with a kale salad and some quinoa I have here. Okay, it's actually two types of quinoa. It's the white quinoa and the red quinoa cooked together. Very simple to make. So I've scooped this up here and I've served it. This is what the pastelón looks like cooked. Okay, and it looks, to me, it looks very tasty. And again, I'm going to serve this, like I said, with quinoa and a kale salad. It tastes really good. I feel the texture of the chickpeas, right? They're a bit harder than the tempeh, and then just sweetness and just velvety texture of that sweet plantain. Amazing, guys. So try this out. Remember, there are other alternatives. You don't have to use whole soy ingredients if you're not into whole soy. But when you make it, I hope you enjoy it. And thank you so much. Peace, everyone.